Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mike Reed here, and I'm back again today with yet another toy review. So today we have yet another Beyblade review. What a surprise! Today we have, for the review, Beyblade Burst Surge SpeedStorm Mirage Fafnir F6. So yes, Fafnir makes his triumphant return in Beyblade Burst Surge. And for Hasbro, I have mixed feelings on this release. This release is kind of a mix of both worlds. It does a lot right, but it also does a lot wrong. We'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, so looking at the top right-hand corner, we have a nice CG render of Mirage Fafnir right there, looking absolutely gorgeous as always. Then, of course, we have our sad sap Spear Dullahan getting destroyed yet again. Can we get enough in the chat for that poor sap? Ah, jeez. Neighbor Surge right there. We do have the packaging, which of course the launcher would be right there, and the Beyblade would, in each individual part would be right there, except for, of course, the chip would be attached to the ring. But anyway, moving to the back of the box, we do have Mirage Fafnir F6 with the chip, the ring, the chassis, and the driver. And then we do have another little excerpt here which says rubber power absorption. So yes, finally Fafnir, after so long of not having rubber, he finally gets the rubber back for Hasbro. Thank God he gets the gimmick that he was always meant to have. So thank God for that. The rubber does return on this release, thank the Lord. Anyway, here are these stats, which of course are absolute rubbish, and there you go. Moving the box out of the way, and yes, I did just toss that off screen. Let's get on with the reviews, going into the Beyblade itself, starting with, of course, the chip, which is surprisingly hard to get out, or the Storm chip, or Silver King chip, whatever you want to call it, is Fafnir, and it does look very nice. I will say, it's very, very nice. I do like the detail on it, as it does have most, if not all, the details on there. I think it's missing a couple up in the head region. But all in all, let me just grab a picture real quick just to make sure that I'm right about that. I'm pretty sure it has all the details on it for the most part. So good job Hasbro with Fafnir. So give me a minute, guys, while I look up a image of the original Mirage Fafnir. And yeah, most of the detail is on there. Yes, it's missing some like right around here, and that's missing a little bit up here. But other than that, and a little bit down here. But other than those missing details, it pretty much looks exactly the same as the Takara version, so not bad at all. And for a quick comparison, let's bring in the last Fafnir chip that we got, which was, what was it? Wizard Fafnir. There you go, Wizard Fafnir. So here we have him from GT 2019. Here we have that. And as you can see, much smaller, much more different looking than the last one, which doesn't even look like Fafnir that much at all. But then again, Wizard Fafnir was more or less inspired by Fafnir, at least in the anime, and wasn't exactly a direct evolution to the last Fafnir at the time, which was Geist before it. But still, for what it is, not bad looking at all. Next up is the ring, as soon as I can actually get that on screen. Here we go. Here is the ring, which is Mirage, and I have to say, not bad looking. It does have some of the details missing, like the eyes are not painted, but other than that, it's pretty much the same as the Japanese version. And it has the rubber, which is amazing, because for a long time, and aka for 2 solid, long, painful years, Fafnir had lost its rubber, and that's what makes Fafnir so good, because if you guys don't know, Fafnir is one of the best left spin Beyblades probably of all time, because of the rubber. That's what makes him survive for so long, and it helps him a lot with spin stealing, which is a technique where essentially less spin Beyblades can spin, and you'll absorb the energy of the other Beyblade. Because of the rubber, it will make contact with it, thus making it grind together like gears with right spin Beyblades, thus making it spin for longer and draining the other one's spin. And the thing is that when it's not rubber, it just doesn't do that. It's more or less transforms into an attack type and not really a stamina you know, spin absorbing beast like it's supposed to be. So thank goodness he actually has the rubber back. It is a fairly thin ring here, but then of course most of the rings are relatively thin. But once you put the chip on there, he does look absolutely gorgeous. So that is your layer right there of Mirage Fafnir. So on the back we can see the QR code, so you guys can scan Mirage Fafnir into the game, or the iOS and Android game. But there you go, that is Mirage Fafnir. Very, very nice looking. Next we'll take a look at the disc, which is a point of contention for me. This is one attack. Now, this is completely inaccurate to the original because the original release came with 2 stamina, and it was similar. It was more-ish like a triangular shape in its design. Yeah, it was green as well, but the whole gimmick of 1 stamina and what made it very, very good alongside Mirage Fafnir and just the Mirage ring in general was that it could switch between the counter mode and the absorb mode. So the counter mode would essentially allow spikes that would sort of come up around the dragon heads to somewhat act more like, to add a little bit more protrusions to it, thus making Fafnir look a little more like an attack type and behave more like an attack type during battle. In an absorb mode would just have the points not locked, but they would be positioned behind the little rubber protrusions on the ring, thus making it act more like it's like previous Fafnirs and allow it to spin steel like an absolute beast. But of course, without having those protrusions on it, I mean, it does still have them, but they're not as pronounced as on 2 stamina. But still, it is kind of lazy that they just decided to recolor 1A from Super Hyperion in green. So that, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the entire Beyblade. But still, it's still good. Hopefully later on in this, for Hasbro, we might get a proper 2 stamina chassis disc, because that would be amazing, especially if it's in this color, because that would make up for the points of contention for some fans of this Beyblade and just of the Hasbro releases as of now. So, but then again, it's not entirely a deal breaker, but still, it is something to note that it does come with 1A, at least in its stock form. So, unless they decide to do 2 stamina as a chassis disc later on, which again, Hasbro, if you do that, that would be amazing, actually. And then lastly, we do get the driver, which is Nothing SpeedStorm. Now, if you guys don't remember the original gimmick of Nothing, which let me actually grab my original Nothing from Drain Fafnir, and yes, that is the actual name. It's called Nothing. Yes, I'm not joking around. That's actually what the name's called. But anyway, the original gimmick on Nothing, and you guys can see it's fairly short here, is that whenever it was in battle, it had a spring-loaded button-like gimmick that will allow it to push in. Now, this did one of 2 things. It did 2 things. Not one of 2 things, 2 things. It absorbs the attack of the oncoming Beyblade that's hitting it. That, and when it shrinks down like that, the little plastic ring-like piece would make contact with the stadium, thus making it move aggressively for a few seconds like an attack type, which does help out in some battles. So I will give it that. It does have some nice utility with that. But with this one, you don't have that. It's just always stuck out. It doesn't push in at all. That, and it's way taller than the original Nothing. Again, bringing back in the original Nothing from Beyblade Burst Evolution / God 2017. You guys can see, yeah, it's quite short than compared to the seemingly ginormous Nothing SpeedStorm. But still, it's like I said, it's not a complete deal breaker, but those are the points of contention with me with this release. But still, once you put the Beyblade all together, that is your Mirage Fafnir. Not bad looking at all. Again, there are some small points of contention with this release, but other than that, pretty friggin' solid, not gonna lie. So, let's do some comparisons, shall we? So I'm gonna move him off to the right here, and for comparison, let's bring in the original Beyblade Burst God 2017 Drain Fafnir. And as you guys can see, if I can actually get the speed up, there we go. as you guys can see, they are fairly solid looking Beyblades together. Obviously, the differences are very clear here, not only in size but just in the design, but it's kind of crazy to think about that just a one-off release from God turned out to have all these different evolutions leading up to Mirage. So, not gonna lie when I say that Fafnir's is a fairly solid Beyblade in this series, and I do quite like them. As I know there's a lot of Fafnir fans out there who are relatively pleased with both the Japanese and the original, and this original Hasbro version, which does have again some notable issues, but still good stuff nonetheless. For our next comparison, we are bringing in the last Fafnir that, no, actually, wait, hold on. I actually did that backwards, hold on. I actually skipped one. I normally don't skip an evolution, but let's, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, so let's move backwards again, back a year, to Geist Fafnir, there we go. So that's more proper. Why is it? Okay, sorry about that. This little battery thing popped up on my screen. I have no idea how my battery's dying already. But anyway, so this is Geist Fafnir that we're bringing in for comparison. And as you guys can see, there are some notable differences. And keep in mind that this was from 2018's when Geist Fafnir came out. And even still now, he's still very, very good. Obviously not as good as Mirage, but for his time, he was pretty friggin' OP. So, especially when it comes to the spin steel, because of the little spring-loaded jaws on him. Again, I have done a review on Geist, so definitely go check that out if you haven't already. I may leave a link in the description if I remember to do it, so... and of course, just keep in mind, short-term memory over here, so more than likely I might forget to leave it, but if I do leave it, then go ahead and check that out, if I do leave it in the description, that is. And for our next comparison, at least for the Fafnir evolutions, here is Wizard Fafnir, and this is the Hasbro's Hypersphere version, and all in all, again, very, very solid. Wizard Fafnir definitely had a lot more gimmicks than Mirage because it had the Rise driver, which was supposed to help with its life after death and helping it to spin steel. That, and with the rubber on it, it was supposed to be able to be hand spun and be able to just kind of start up because of the rubber with right spin bays. It would just kind of start accelerating quickly. Because of the, grinding gears kind of, behavior that they would, demonstrate. But still, or exhibit, I should say. But still, for what it is, they're not bad. I'm not a particularly large fan of Wizard Fafnir just because the design's kind of... It's cool, but it just, for me, it doesn't really scream Fafnir that much. More or less, a little bit leaning towards Longinus, I think, than Fafnir. This one, though, definitely screams Fafnir for me. But again, that's just me. So, that's me. Anyway, so I don't know why I decided to sing that last part, but anyway, let's move along with the rest of the SpeedStorm comparisons, because that's going to be the next segment here, is just a bunch of SpeedStorm stuff. So we're going to start off with some random combos and then moving on to the main releases. So next up here, we're bringing in Brave Ragnarok, and as you guys can see, do I even really need to explain the differences between these two? That and, well... and it's kind of funny because Mirage and Brave, at least in the Japanese versions, would both have rubber on them, but of course, because Hasbro's a bit of the lazy, that and they're just kind of nerfing gimmicks left and right, they stripped the gimmick off of Brave, thus making it really kind of crap now. I mean, it's still good, but it's more or less behavior, in terms of the behavior of it behaves more like Victory Valkyrie than it does, say, Brave Valkyrie from the Japanese version, which is absolutely just bombastic, insane, crazy sort of behavior on it. Next, we will bring in Super Satan right here. Now, do give me a second, as I do need to go grab a charger because my phone is literally inches away from death, and that is not exactly good. So give me 1 second, and then I'll come back and finish out the comparisons. So, be right back. Alright guys, so let's just hope this cord actually works to charge the phone. Let's see. Is it charging? Let's see. I think it is. So I think we should be good for now. So I do have to kind of put the camera at a weird angle. But anyhow, so let's just quickly wrap up these comparisons, shall we? So we're just going to stop that. So that was the comparison with Super Satan. And now we're just going to move on to main releases. So for our next comparison, we are going to bring in, let's see, Rage Longinus here. I can actually rotate the thing. There we go. So you guys can see, they do look very, very nice together. Mirage and Rage Longinus. So our two left spin dragons are beautifully reunited in Surge, and and not gonna lie, when I say both of these guys look very, very good together. So for our next comparison, we're going to bring in Super Hyperion. And as you guys can see, our two yellow boys are back together, and they do look quite nice together. So, and it's kind of surprising that nothing doesn't have SpeedStorm metal on it, considering this is a main Surge release. But still, I don't think but does he really need the SpeedStorm metal when you have the rubber to spin steel like an absolute champ? So, but that's just me. So next up, we're gonna bring in Glide Ragnarok. As you guys can see, not bad looking for a couple of stamina types. Out of the two stamina types, obviously I favor Fafnir a lot more just because the spin stealing is a lot better than Ragnarok, even though I haven't tested yet the burst resistance of Fafnir. Hopefully it's good, because the last one, the burst resistance was absolute crap. But anyhow, next we're going to bring our next left spin Beyblade, and that is going to be King or Colossal Helios. So you guys can see, very, very nice together, our two left spin boys here. And they don't look too bad together, not gonna lie. Do not look too bad together. Of course, this is not the original colors on Colossal Helios. Obviously, he's blue normally, but this is just the random color sort of version that they released. But still, you get the idea of how they look together. And of course, I do have the Japanese version, which we will be comparing him with shortly. Next, we will bring in Spear Dullahan, our poor lad that keeps getting destroyed in every single box art by everything. So, there he is. And again, the two of them don't look too bad together. The blues definitely do complement each other, even though Fafnir's is a more purplish blue than, say, the navy sort of dark blue on Dullahan, but still, it does the job. Next, we will bring in Curse Satan, and he does look quite nice with Fafnir there. Just kind of have to, there we go. As you can see, he is definitely taller a little bit than Fafnir, but then again, that's just kind of the nature of the nothing driver. But there you go. Next, we will bring in Demise Devilos, or Death Diabolos, if you want to call him by his Japanese name. And as you can see, they do look quite nice together as well. Of course, the obvious differences are pretty obvious here. I don't think I need to elaborate more on that, but still, all in all, pretty solid guys, these two. And of course, the turntable had to stop at the worst position. But anyway, our last two comparisons for today are going to be, of course, our traditional Japanese representatives of Surge or SpeedStorm, or just Surge, SpeedStorm, or Super King, I should say, which is Super Hyperion. So you can see the differences between Hasbro and Takara Tomi's handiwork when handling the franchise. With handling the season, handling the bays of this season, I should say, not the franchise, but the season. So, and I did not want for that to happen. Can we? Okay, there we go. Okay, I pressed the button one too many times. And lastly, we're going to bring in the original Japanese King Helios. As you guys can see, these two, again, even with the original colors, they do work relatively well together. Not perfect, but pretty well. Just gonna wait for the turntable to stop. And there we go. And with that being said, guys, that is going to wrap up the review of Beyblade Burst Surge SpeedStorm. Hold up. Okay, almost about to drop the phone. There we go. Beyblade Burst Surge SpeedStorm, Mirage Fafnir F6. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell so that way you guys get notified for all uploads. Later, Eat Squad, and have a good one.